Thank you for watching this video. Before we get started, I'd just like to shout out my channel on the side, Cable Classics. This is me and a group of some of my best friends watching movies late at night, and then I edit them together into short little highlight reels of the funniest and most entertaining parts, or some insight. So check it out. We've done Deep Blue Sea, Roadhouse, Fear, The Howling, Excalibur, and Sylvester Stallone's Over the Top, and there's plenty more to come. I'd really like this channel to reach a certain sub count and start to get a continued fan base, so if you can support it in any way, I'd really appreciate it, and please check out its Reddit page. Thank you. Hello, Rewinders and fellow box office addicts. Let's get into the weekend. Let's talk about what's going on. Let's get sexy. Alright guys, Five Nights at Freddy's. There's really no way around this. Nuclear opening weekend. And I mean nuclear as a positive because I am pro-nuclear war. $80 million opening weekend, $84 million domestic, $136 million worldwide. This film got pretty crappy reviews, 34 on Metacritic, horribly trashed on Rotten Tomatoes, getting decent audience reception. I think fans of the video game seem to be pretty positive about the film. It does remind me of Mario, where critics were very mixed to negative on the film, but then it was a huge hit and a crowd pleaser and set up this whole franchise. It turns out with video game movies that if the characters in the movie look pretty close to the characters in the video game, and the movie generally captures the vibe and aesthetic of the game itself, you're going to get a bunch of people to go see the movie. Look at the Sonic movies. There's been two of them. They got better reviews than a lot of the other recent video game films, but they weren't critically acclaimed films by any means. But Sonic looked like Sonic, so people went to go see it. Both movies did really well. Mario's on another level, I think, by being animated, but this being a hybrid between the two. And then you have The Last of Us that was on HBO recently. That was very successful. I mean, are we seeing a trend here, is the question. Is this a pattern, or is this the era of video game movies? Are we over superhero comic book films? Or is there going to be like IP films like Barbie are going to happen? Toy films? That makes sense. But our studio is going to go all in on video game adaptations. HBO is going to do more video game shows now. Is Netflix going to lean entirely into that with a lot of their original programming? Is Blumhouse? I mean, this is just another. Jason Blum is clearly the best producer in Hollywood at this point. I think Kevin Feige has lost the belt. Um, in a lot of ways. Just because Blumhouse, I mean, budget to success ratio, what the hell? They don't spend more than $20 million on any of these movies. A big budget Blumhouse film's like $35 million or something, depending on. I think Jordan Peele probably got a bigger budget at some point. And then the movies always make money. They always make money. The Nun 2 is out, which I believe is Warner Brothers, by the way. I don't believe that's Blumhouse. But still, like, all these movies, these like horror supernatural films, like Jesus Christ. I mean, really the huge thing here is that The Exorcist didn't have an opening like this because the Halloween reboot had a $76 million opening weekend, and I think the studio thought at the time The Exorcist could open to 50, 60 million, and it doing very mediocre numbers, especially domestically. And then you compare that to Five Nights at Freddy's now, which is opening to blockbuster numbers and should be able to make 150 million domestically if it holds okay. I do think this film is going to drop. There's no question that this film's going to have steep drops weekend to weekend. But just putting this all together, it is a good sign for video game movies. It's a good sign for Hollywood that they might be able to piggyback onto new franchises, particularly very popular ones. Obviously, Minecraft opens itself up to a movie universe. Legend of Zelda, Metroid, tons of action games. I would even say I wouldn't be shocked if we see a Grand Theft Auto movie in the next few years, not recently, if this trend continues. But this audience skewed very young, and I believe it's a PG-13 movie, but it was mostly kids who went to go see this. And the fact that this was on Peacock at the same time as it released in theaters is surprising. Like, it was the day-to-day box office release, which we've heard is a negative. So does that mean nobody cares about Peacock, which I think is possible? I don't think it has that many subscribers. It might have 15 million. Or did people want to go see this in the theater because of event reasons? The same reason Barbie and Oppenheimer did well. So it's that eventizing thing. Speaking of that, the Taylor Swift Eras film, which is an event movie, has crossed 150 million domestically. And as you can see here, Killers of the Flower Moon continues to be a bomb with the 60% drop. It's made 86 million on a $200 million budget, not including marketing. The Exorcist Believer isn't really a bomb per se, but it's not successful for what they needed it to be, and they're definitely going to retool that franchise. Nightmare Before Christmas is on this crazy run, 8.2 million on its 30th anniversary. That movie keeps making money for people. You gotta think about that, like how much money that movie made in the 90s compared to how much it's probably made over the last 20 years is insane. And I'm talking merchandising and everything included, how much money it's made. I'm sure it's got to be over $1 billion, I imagine, that film has made people. The studio. I don't know how much Tim Burton gets of that or Henry Selick, but probably not as much as you would think. Saw X is at 83 million. Hocus Pocus, another classic movie doing decent in theaters, almost grossing 5 million on a re-release. Also 30th anniversary. It's pretty crazy. It and Nightmare Before Christmas both came out in 1993. Very vivid year to me, even though I was a very little kid. I was like, hardly 3 years old, but I somehow remember 1993. I mean, I know the counter to the video game movie thing is Gran Turismo, which is a video game thing, and it made $119 million worldwide. But even that, like, this movie got awful reviews. The trailers were terrible. It isn't that kind of IP. I think total in sales, it's like 90 million copies. It's a huge game, but still, even this made 120 million. I mean, that's the thing. These movies just aren't outright bombs, or disasters like people gave them the reputation they had in the 90s or even the 2000s. It's like, well, you just don't make video game movies. They never work out. Some could make money, like Warcraft did well in China. The Resident Evil films made money, particularly in international markets. But now we're seeing these domestic openings where video game movies are opening to like $100 million, $70 million, and being the number one show on television for a network. So I do think this is a sign of things to come. I think Five Nights at Freddy's is a very strong IP. I think it has a very strong iconography, and I think that benefited this opening a lot. Still, I do think it'll drop, but that doesn't matter. This is such a big opening that the movie's already going to make money. And even if it doesn't, you know, make it to 400 million or 500 million worldwide, it doesn't matter. I'm really happy for Matthew Lillard in this, being in the movie. It's a nice return for him. So, hopefully, I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. Hopefully, I've heard some people like it. It's not really my thing. I'm not a Five Nights at Freddy's guy, but Oppenheimer 946 million. Jesus Christ. Barbie at 1.441484,916. Dumb Money made no money. Take that, Seth Rogen. And Blue Beetle. Let's look at Blue Beetle. Where did it end up? 129 million. Oh God, those poor people. And let's see what's left. The Creator, that bombed, didn't it? Yeah, 97 million on an $80 million budget. That didn't work out. Oh well. Haunting in Venice did not haunt up any money at the box office. And then we have the Paw Patrol movie, a great Halloween release at 166 million worldwide. So currently, during the month of October, Paw Patrol is pwning an Exorcist film, a Saw film, an original sci-fi film, a Kenneth Branagh, Agatha Christie film. Weird, weird time. And animatronic teddy bear guy just beat everyone at the box office. I don't know what the hell's going on. 2024 is going to be really, really fucking weird.